Hello, everybody. Look who it is. It's Frank Vespi, my old partner with the rundown, and we're going to have a lot of fun tonight on the weekly roundup until Daniel gets here. But all the usual shenanigans you're used to on Saturday nights. I'm Zach Burr. That's Frank Vespi. And if you're looking to buy or sell a home, if you're looking for a change in career or brokerage, you can contact Alan Foy of eXp Realty LLC at 302-682-8820 or visit him at alan.foy@exprealty.com. Frank, are you excited? I'm excited.
I'm excited, but first we gotta play the video.
Let's go! This ain't the box like he forced his game, he stinks!
Oh, shit!
He's gone!
There we are. Look at what it is. It's the guy that's the star of our highlight video. It's Frank. He always pissed off, yelling at something.
I'm not the star. Ralph's the star because the chair broke.
Yeah, maybe. But you kind of make the chair breaking, we all could have just ignored it and kept rolling like nothing happened, but you had to be the one to make a scene about it. So
sure.
That's what the star does. They bring all the attention. They bring all the attention where it needs to be. You've always been the star.
What are we talking on the docket today?
I've been the pretty face, and you've been like, all the pizzazz and the star power ever since we became friends a long, long time ago. Yeah, so I don't know. I guess it depends on what you view as the more important one. But yeah, we both kind of bring something to the table, which is I don't know.
I guess.
But you've always been the more important one, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And speaking of important.
Yeah. So what is speaking of important for tonight? Yes. Enough of us talking.
Well, Juan Soto, he's very important, right?
He is very important. And of course, the Phillies are playing the Pittsburgh Pirates right now are important.
Every game for the Phillies is important right now, even against the measly Pirates.
Yes. So
Luis Castillo got traded, yesterday or today? And at the deadline, with the deadline's always important in baseball season. He was one of the top names. The Mariners are going for it.
Yep. And they're showing it right now.
Yeah, there's rumors about the Angels and Shohei Ohtani. That's crazy. Yeah. All those rumors about whether or not he would be available, stuff like that's a little nuts. But I'll tell you what, this Soto thing, that's a lot of money that he left on the table.
Let's introduce the poll, and then you can segue right into it.
Yeah, Juan Soto,
Into the deadline is the Nationals' own Juan Soto after he declined a 15-year, $440 million contract. And it brings us to our poll question. Juan Soto will be traded at Tuesday's trade deadline. Agree or disagree? Now you can go into it.
I don't know. I mean, I feel like most people were going to agree with this because the Nationals said they're going to make one more offer. If he says no, they're going to start shopping him at the deadline. So I feel like most people are going, of course, he'll get traded at the deadline. I see this being one of those I don't think the Nationals sign him. He's not going to accept an offer, but at the same time, this is a deal that's going to be one of those things that's going to be so blockbuster. It's really going to take a long time to work something out. And I just don't see something at the deadline happening. For me, this is going to be like a Giancarlo Stanton sort of trade where in the offseason it kind of rocks the house and it's something, it just makes all the headlines because you spent months on putting it together. I don't see this happening, by the deadline here in a few days because I just think that he's way too good of a player with way too much value. And you're talking about the Nationals wanting to get so much in return and other teams having to think about what they're giving back in return and all these things with all these moving parts that just tell me a deal doesn't happen by Tuesday. But, definitely a deal happens in the offseason at some point. But I just don't see it happening by the deadline.
Yeah, I also disagree to the poll. Especially what it's going to take to get Juan Soto. You have to really blow the Nationals out of the water. When everybody was talking about, oh, maybe the Phillies should go after him, it's like there's no way we have anything that'll benefit the Nationals.
Yeah, the Nationals, I doubt, would make – the Nationals are going to be very selective about who they trade with.
They're very selective.
So the idea of the Mets and all that –
right.
I guess I wouldn't be shocked if a deal happened with the Mets, but I think the Nationals would try to do everything they could to make sure they found a deal with somebody else before the Mets.
Yeah, I think they're going to go outside the division. And, especially when you bring up, the Phillies going after Soto, it's probably going to take guys like Mick Abel, Andrew Painter, Logan O'Hoppe. It's going to take at least 3 of your top 10 prospects in an already thin farm system that we have. I just don't see
us ranked 24th, which is not good considering
our farm system's not good.
I thought it was going to be better than that. I thought we had more farm talent than that, Frank.
I know. There is
not
more
surprising. The Orioles have the best farm system in baseball.
Exactly. But I don't see Soto going to the O's. But Jake in the comments, he thinks it's going to be either down to the Cardinals or the Padres to get Soto.
Yeah, he thinks he's getting traded by the deadline. He says Cardinals are now. Cardinals are one of those teams that they always have a deep system, and I think if I'm a team that's looking to trade for prospects, that's one of the organizations I always want to do it with because you kind of feel like whoever you're getting back has kind of. The Cardinal way has been around for a long time, and it seems like they always bring guys through the system, and they're all very solid. So if you want to talk about young guys with a chance to develop, it's a good system to do business with, a good organization to do business with. But still, if you're the Cardinals, this is like the type of thing that this is what makes this so crazy, right? Like you're not going to give up everything for Soto unless you feel like you also have a chance to sign him to an extension.
Right.
It's not like you're going to go out and give up your entire system to get the dude for the rest of this year when he's a free agent. It's not after this year, after next year, or is he after this year?
I believe he is. Let's pull up the spot track.
I think he's got one more year of team control. That'll be a big part of this. How much more team control does he have?
You have to. All right, he's got all right. He goes into arbitration going into next year. So
he's still got 3 more years?
He's got 2 years of arbitration 3 and 4, and then in 25 he'll be a unrestricted free agent. He'll be a true.
So you're getting him for next year and 2024 before he ever hits the market.
Right. And that's the thing. Knowing what he wants.
Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah.
That's really big because then you have time to work on an extension.
Exactly. You have time to work on it.
But still, if you're a team like the Cardinals, they don't sign big extensions like that. Is this even something that they would consider? Like maybe if they felt like they have a 2-year window and he can win us a championship now, but that doesn't seem like a Cardinal type of move.
Yeah.
The Padres maybe because they're sexy and they want to make a splash and they want to compete with the Dodgers and they kind of want to put asses in the seats and have all these eyes on them. And maybe they wouldn't care about spending a ton of money to do it. They've already got Machado. Maybe I could see that happening. It'd be nice for baseball to see a team like the Padres all of a sudden, sign a guy like that and have one of these giant payrolls.
And we've seen that in several years before where, the Padres on paper, they have a really good team, but they just underperform when it comes to those moments. Are the Padres going to make that jump, are going to pull the trigger, get a guy like Juan Soto, and hopefully sign him for several years where he sticks around along with Machado and Tatis? That'd be
a pretty good face of your franchise. Guys to roll with, have 3 guys like that. But the Padres have a deep system too. But is it any way possible for them to be able to get Soto without giving up? Maybe you might have to think about trading Tatis for Soto. And at this point, I don't know if that's a bad deal even for San Diego because Tatis struggles to stay healthy. And he's sexy and everything about him. You go, wow, but Soto's probably the better player. or at least the way better offensive player, right?
Exactly. But I just feel like the Padres
finding up the middle talent.
If they try to get
up the middle talent is elite and essential, and it's hard to give that up.
Right. Yeah, I think it's very difficult to, try to get Soto while keeping Tatis. And I think the Nationals.
Yeah, I mean, you just have to. If you're the Padres, you'd have to think you got to give up something in your young core.
Amanda, what is your question?
Amanda always has questions.
Yes. Hey, there's nothing wrong with too many questions. And going else into the comments, Raska not too happy with his Anaheim Angels. And the
Mike Trout thing is interesting. The Mike Trout thing's interesting because, that's. I mean, I've got the neck issue now. I didn't used to have it when we first met, but after the car accident a year and a half ago, I've got the herniated discs and the bulging discs in my neck, and there's 3 of them, right? So I kind of have like some firsthand knowledge to speak on some of this based off what doctors have told me and how I know my issue is going to go. And my issue is not even rare. And for what what we're hearing about the Trout issue, it's kind of like a more of a rare thing. And it sounds like it's degenerative. Like when everything you hear about like, oh, he's going to have to manage it the rest of his career and these things. Back issues aren't something to fuck with. They end your career like that when you're performing at a high level. Like they really are something that, I mean, you can go from being this, an elite type player to it being over. And I mean, I know that my doctors have told me, like, really, there's nothing I can do for my disc issues in my neck outside of them doing steroid injections into my neck. And, like if it gets super bad, you could do like a spinal surgery sort of thing. But none of those are options you'd ever want to do, regardless of what you're doing for a living, let alone if you were trying to be a professional athlete. I just can't imagine like what they've told him, like what type of back issue he could have that isn't this idea that they're trying to play, oh, my career's not in jeopardy. Maybe you're not going to retire tomorrow, but like this has got Don Mattingly type stuff written all over it, like getting just worse and worse and worse and worse until it gets to a point where you can't play anymore.
All right, so we got Amanda's question or questions. Here we go.
2 of them.
Well, it's like a 3-for-1 special. So we'll break it down.
It's a run-on question. I got you.
Yes, a series of questions. Yes. So the first question: when do you guys think Bryce Harper will be back? All right, so let's answer part 1. When will Bryce be back?
September 1st.
All right. I originally thought the end of the All-Star break, but that's not going to happen. So September sounds more realistic, especially when we're going to see the call-ups and depending on what we're going to do at the deadline. I think there's
that has a big role in it too. Sure,
exactly. But let's see what's going to happen at the deadline. See where Bryce's thumb is at the moment. And if he does return, I think September, and especially when we're in a playoff push, I think that's the more realistic date. All right, part 2. What do you think of the bullpen?
The bullpen's been much better, over the past couple months. And I mean, I don't think you obviously want to get better in any way that you can, but I don't think it's a huge concern the way that it was.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, at this point, you're just looking at different ways to improve the team. Whether it's in the rotation, the bullpen, whatever it might be.
The Jehovah's Witnesses are here?
Yeah, apparently there's somebody at my door. You can carry it for 2
Reverend
seconds.
Schnorr? Who's at the door? Okay, that happened. So the bullpen. I don't know if Zach can hear me, but with the bullpen, I think the bullpen, did get a lot better. I'm very glad that Sirianni's going to find that role and becoming the potential closer for this team. I still think there's still some ways that the bullpen can be improved. Just don't put Juris Familia on the mound, please. Like, after blowing the lead like that on Thursday, please don't put him in a Phillies uniform or near the city of Philadelphia again.
No Juris
Familia.
My neighbor wanted some weed.
Well, that's well, isn't that lovely?
So
you could have just said we're not finding Jesus, or
this is they weren't Jehovah's Witnesses, but
Okay, so I still think there's still some ways that the bullpen can be improved by the deadline. I think you can find some low end, help. But yeah, I'm fine with the bullpen right now. Let's just hope it keeps up. Please get rid of Jersey Familia, please, Dave.
Yeah, well, I don't even understand how he's still like. I mean, this is just the dude sucked in New York, and then he beat the shit out of his wife, and then he got suspended with PEDs, and then somehow still what? What is
right? Yeah,
how does this?
I didn't
happen?
like the signing to begin with. He had one good year in New York, but that was it. One good year, and then he just
I think this dude might actually be able to win a piece of shit contest against Ugith Urbina, and that would be hard to do. Speaking of former Phillies who were pieces of shit,
but then calling Jerry's Familia POS is an insult to all excrement. So,
is it?
I don't know.
Here's a fun fact. Since we're talking about young players and different things involving baseball, but I believe today would have been Jose Fernandez's 30th birthday, if I saw it correctly, and it made me think of just about how good he was for just the short period of time that he was here. But a guy that we probably would have been talking about being somebody that either would have been a hot topic like this at the deadline, like Juan Soto is, a young player of that nature, or somebody that would have been signing a record-breaking contract in the way we're talking about Juan Soto. If that didn't, but man,
it's an absolute shame. What could have been had,
it made you think he would have only been 30. Think about how good he was, how young, and you're like, you would have been 30. Imagine the records he would have been setting at this point in his career, and where we would have been at, and the different things that who knows where the Marlins franchise goes with him or anything like that. How it changes the trajectory of anything. Derek Jeter's there, obviously, shortly after all that happens, and maybe if Fernandez is the guy that's the face of the franchise, things are a little bit different for you. Maybe you don't trade Giancarlo Stanton. Who knows what happened?
Christian Yelich, he was
you have a core that you look at, and maybe it changes and goes differently.
Yeah, I mean, and look at some of the other players that are succeeding in Miami. You have Sandy Alcantara and Jazz Chisholm. Imagine a team. Yeah. Imagine a possible 1-2 punch with Fernandez and Alcantara.
They're another organization that really just does a phenomenal job developing talent and identifying young talent.
But they just don't know.
It's a shame that, I mean, you would have thought that somebody like Jeter would have came in there and kind of changed around. It's Miami, right? If you want to have a $200 million payroll, you probably could. It's so weird they haven't had somebody that.
Right.
I don't. The whole situation just sounds. Well, I get why with Tampa they've got to do it the way they do it, but you would think in Miami you'd be like, dude, go all out,
Exactly.
This is Miami. Fuck it. You're a big market. That's the way that's got to work.
Right.
You're a city that attracts free agents. We see the NBA. People with money love Miami, right? If you can offer a player $200 million, Miami all of a sudden becomes, ooh, what a good city. I can make $200 million and I live in Miami. Ooh, okay. That's a win-win for a guy that loves to go out to nightclubs and things like that. Sure. So it's a little weird to me that, you think of that 03 World Series team. I was watching, if you have a chance on YouTube, go YouTube MLB seasons. I'm not sure if it was an MLB network thing or HBO, who did it. But you could go back and it's kind of like a season-long documentary of of that MLB season. You can watch all the different years. And I was watching the 2003 season recently. And when you just look at that Marlins team, and Josh Beckett and AJ Burnett and Miguel Cabrera, Ivan Rodriguez, Ugith Urbina, Juan Pierre, Mike Lowell's on that team. It's just you look at you go this is just no wonder y'all won a World Series, right? That's good Lord, that team is filthy. And Dontrell Willis is on that team and was the rookie of the year, right? That's your rotation that year. Josh Beckett, AJ Burnett, Dontrell Willis. what a heck of a 1-2-3 punch that is.
Yeah.
And it's like, how do you have that many young guys in your system at one time? They're all contributing at the big league level. They're all helping you win, games and do things like win you a world championship. And within like 3 years, they're all traded to somebody else, and you blow it all the hell up. That's so weird to me that happens in a place like Miami.
Right.
Like, sign them all on.
And they did it right after 97 too, which is crazy.
Yeah, like, you know what I mean? Like, they went and beat the Yankees in that 03 World Series. Like, go ahead and have a payroll like the Yankees and sign all these dudes and build a core that stays together for a 5 or 6 year stretch, and maybe you win a few more, but they just blow it up. Like, that type of thing is weird to me.
Yep. All right, so now Amanda is getting a little impatient, and she wants third question. Do you think the Phillies will go to the playoffs?
Yeah. I mean, I think we should, and I think we're in a position where we're going to add at the deadline to make us better once Bryce gets back. It's kind of funny, the whole Bryce thing. It's disappointing, but at the same time, if you stay right there in the race until he's back, he's the type of guy that brings you the energy down the stretch that really gets you over the hump. It's just that energy that kind of lifts you at the times where you need it, where it's, if you're right there within a game, or you're fighting with somebody, scrapping down the wire for that final, for a playoff spot. I'll put my money on us finding the motivation to make it happen.
I think it can happen.
Especially after us being so close the past few years. Yeah. You've kind of smelled it, you've tasted it, you've kind of been right there, and you know what the disappointment is, and it's like just kind of all the cards kind of fall in place the way you want them to this year. But yeah, I mean, I was worried when Bryce first got hurt because I thought, oh no, but we haven't necessarily played, phenomenally by any means or anything like that. You've lost some series that maybe you didn't want to, but we've stayed there, right? Kind of like, I guess, in a tread water position, right? You haven't lost any ground.
Yeah. Right. I think.
What are we, a half game out right now? What is? If the season ended
before the All-Star break against Toronto, I think that kind of hurt us a little bit, but winning 2 out of 3 against the Braves, that kind of
winning in the division. All of a sudden, we're really, really good within the division. We're like 15-3 or something in our past 18 division games, and that really helps. 15-5, something like that. Yeah. That really helps.
And of course, with Gene Segura coming back soon, he had a little bit of a rehab stint with Lehigh Valley, so he should be coming back soon. So that's definitely going to help us out a lot.
Him and Didi are probably trade bait at the deadline, right?
Right.
You're probably going Didi.
I think Didi's more of the trade candidate, knowing what we could see out of Bryce and Stott. I think that's what we're going to see is, we're probably
I would think. And Bryce is one of those young guys that brings you the energy that you love. So like, yeah, I mean, if you're trying to add a bullpen guy, you can go something like Didi and
Didi and
Mickey Moniak, something like that, and you can get yourself a solid bullpen arm. You don't have to give up the farm. You don't have to trade a Mick Abel to get yourself that really good bullpen arm.
Now, going back to the farm, the one name everybody is bringing up as a potential trade candidate is Logan O'Hoppe, the catcher.
Yeah.
Part of me is like, I can understand why you want to trade him, but at the same time, it's like, is he really that? Is he, is this the guy that we want him to succeed? JT, I know it's kind of a little bit of a block.
I don't think you can think of it like that.
I don't know. I tend to think of something like
that. Because I'm with you. Because I would love to be like, okay, he's the guy that could take over for JT, but at the same time, catcher's also a position where like JT got all the money, all that. That's fine. But you can also like go pay a catcher, and not really feel like you're breaking the bank. And he's a really, really good game receiver. He's going to catch a good game and call a good game and things like that. Where as long as the rest of your team's constructed the way you need it to be, you don't need your catcher hitting 30 home runs. Yeah. When we signed JT, we thought he might need to be a guy that's contributing like that in the middle of the lineup. And now it just seems like we're paying a little bit, but that is what it is. The money is what it is. You're not, whatever. Those things work themselves out. You've got to roll with what you've got in the system, and there's going to be you've got very few names that pop up as sexy and as names that, you look at and go, yeah, that'll get you something in return. I think the one guy you're like, I don't want to even like discuss trading this guy is Painter, because Andrew Painter has been really, really lights out, and he's
Painter and Abel. Those are the two I do not want to trade.
I'll still trade Abel because for me, like I look at Painter and I look at everything about him. It's not just the results of what you're seeing in the minor leagues, but when you just look at him, he's constructed everything about him. He just looks like a top of the rotation guy. The way he's built, his size, his athleticism, all that. Mick Abel looks like a guy that could be, a really good prospect. He also looks like he could be Brett Myers. He also looks like he could be Gavin Floyd. And Brett Myers was good. He was never a top of the rotation guy. Gavin Floyd was a huge disappointment, even though he had a few solid years. He was never ever the prospect he was built up to be here in Philly. We thought the dude.
And then of course we traded him to Chicago.
And then he traded him to Chicago. He had a couple good years, but he still was never. He was never
right.
He won 17 games with the White Sox his 1 year, but it was never like he was a guy that was lighting up the league or anything.
Right.
And so like that for me with Abel, I see a guy where you're like, yeah, like nice, like there's some, there's some potential there, but you could very easily just be smoke and mirrors, right? And it's you're Gavin Floyd or something like that. Whereas I look at Andrew Painter and I go, here's a guy this guy's not smoke and mirrors. He's all substance. When I look at Andrew Painter and I look at everything and the way he's built down to how he pitches and all of his stuff and everything about it, you look at him and you feel like this is a guy that's going to be something. He's just got it. There's substance there. So for me, I'd be like, I really don't want to trade him. Even as good as I think Mick Abel could be, I'm not sold on the idea of him being a guy that's going to be so good that I don't want to discuss trading him. So if I've got to put him in a package, if I've got to put a Hoppy into I feel like if you're going to go trade for like a top of the rotation arm, it's probably going to be Mick Abel and Hoppy that are the two top guys that end up holding that package.
Right. I want to take.
And then you probably try to put Moniak and Kingery or something like that in there too.
Does anybody want Kingery's contract? That's the other thing. Is anybody willing to take that?
Well,
contract?
okay. So I mean, Moniak, whatever. Moniak's still enough of a prospect. It's like a J.P. Crawford type thing, right? Where it's like, you're not really expecting him to be a star, but it's okay. Maybe he turns into something, especially when he's the third guy in a package that already has two elite prospects.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I could see like trading Moniak, but what can we get out of him? That's the other thing.
Well, yeah, he can't be a guy that you're going to build a trade package around, but all of a sudden, when you're talking about, we need another prospect. Okay, so you've got two of our top guys, and then you need another prospect. Okay, you're not getting Painter. I'd rather not give up some of the other names that you mentioned where you're like, who knows what they're going to be, but there's at least like some athleticism and some you're talking about 19-year-old kids in the low A level and stuff like that. You're like, okay, I guess, I'll give them up every day of the week, but at the same time, I at least feel like they've got room to grow, whereas you kind of know what Moniak's going to be. And the Mickey Moniak project is kind of expired. And it's just about time to be like, okay, if I have to put him in a trade package to bring in some elite arm at the deadline, I'm really not even losing a lick of sleep over it. Like it's like snap my fingers, make it happen. I'm not worried about it.
Yeah. And especially, when we were like excited to see this number one overall pick, but then like the length of time it took from drafting Moniak.
For me, that's not necessarily the issue because I think you see, like he's drafted at 17 or 18. Okay.
Right.
It takes plenty of kids 5 or 6 years before they really, and all of a sudden, boom, it happens. So I'm not worried about the length of it.
Maybe it's just the impatient fan in me that wants to see the young guys.
Of course, we all want to see a 20-year-old phenom, right? We all want to see that 19, 20-year-old phenom,
right?
But it's just not, not a usual thing. But I don't care how long it takes. But it would have been nice once he got here to be like, oh, this kid can play. He can't play though. And you're like, okay, now it just feels like you're forcing him to be up at the big league level because he's out of minor league time. There's not really much else you can do. He's got to be on your 40-man roster. And he's just a guy that's not really ever going to be a good major leaguer type of thing. He looks like Albert Amora at this point. Like that's what he looks like he can be. Next thing you know, he's going to be throwing his bat into the stands or hitting a foul ball into the stands and fucking, crushing some 3-year-old kid in the face with it.
He's back. I'm watching SummerSlam. Edge just came back.
Who? Edge just came back? Edge is like 48 now. Can Edge go away?
No.
Jesus. And I love Edge, but holy hell.
But it's the new McMahon. It's the post Vince McMahon era.
It is. No, that's the best thing. Yeah, well, you could sell every prospect you have outside of the fact that if you're the Phillies and you haven't had a goddamn farm system in 30 years, I mean, it hasn't been that long, but the last time you had anybody, last time you had a farm system that had any substance to it, Ed Wade was here. That's how long ago it was when you had a farm system with substance. And I don't care who you are. Brickman's an idiot, so I'll say that right now. Me and him have been into it for plenty over the past couple weeks now on Facebook. Brickman's a moron, so anything he says, take it with a grain of salt. This the dude. Brickman's over here defending Jim Salisbury because Jim Salisbury is trying to troll Nick Castellanos as if Jim Salisbury is not a 30-year professional in this damn business. Oh, I don't think the question was out of line. It wasn't even a serious question. He was intentionally being a smartass, trying to be funny, trying to troll a player that's been a real professional through all of these struggles. And I found that to be really inappropriate. It would have been like a reporter trying to troll Pat Burrell during his struggles in the 2003 season. We all get it. The dude's not playing well. But of all guys, like, you pick on Ben Simmons, who acts like a fucking little-ass girl and doesn't know how to be a professional. Like, why are you sitting here trying to troll the guy that's actually handling his struggles like a true professional should, hasn't made any excuses this entire time, has taken all the lumps right on the chin, right, hasn't hid from any of this, and all of a sudden the guy you want to be a smart ass with and try to ask a fucking stupid ass, smart ass, snarky question to troll the guy, that's stupid. It's ridiculous. And anybody who defends it's a moron. But Brinkman, me and Brinkman first met in like 2014. And before he ever joined A2D, and he's always been stupid. So, now you're the loser, Rob. I don't need I don't listen to your show. I don't listen to your show because you and Brad are stupid. I don't know who else do not. You were Brian, but you're both a couple of fucking. You guys are both absolute idiots when it comes to your sports takes. So I don't like anything from me. Overpaid and not producing, and you want to trade every prospect we have for more guys that are going to be paid. That's something a balance. Be able to balance that with some great shots. Okay, for talent too. But at some point, I've got to be able to have Bryce and stats in my system, that are able to contribute at the big league level while also being pretty damn anyway, because balance is out. Me having a contract and me having the Castellanos contract and me having the Schwarber contract. Maybe it was 2016. I met you when you were at Connecticut School of Broadcasting. You and Brad were sitting at computers at Connecticut School of Broadcasting. And me, Edgar Martinez is the Hall of Famer. I was right. I think Edgar Martinez was the Hall of Famer. I was right. You kept the Hall of Famer if you only play. If you get the DH, with the dumbest argument I've ever heard. It's so bad to sit there and go, oh, because you're a DH, you can't be a Hall of Famer. Great. DH is a position in baseball. It's been a position since the 60s. And as long as it's a position, if you're that good of a hitter and you can play that good of a position where you're considered the greatest DH of all time, you're going to be a Hall of Famer. Edgar Martinez is a Hall of Famer. David Ortiz is a Hall of Famer.
Well, hi there. My name is Frank, and I have no idea what just happened. So yeah, that happened.
Frank, if you need to, make sure you're talking so that it's not just dead air. But
I know about dead air.
Yeah, it was right after the Utley slide that injured Ruben Tejada for the Mets in the playoffs. And Brickman tried to sit there and say Utley should be suspended for as long as Tejada is out and injured. And, at that point that, he's dumbass. And then 2 years later, he played 2D. And I was like, well, this is awkward because, I don't want to sit here and judge anybody, but yeah. I don't know, who was right in that conversation. Is Edgar Martinez a Hall of Famer or not?
I mean, he was a very talented DH.
He's in the Hall of Fame, isn't he?
He is in the Hall of Fame.
That's what happens when you hit like 320.
Yeah.
Like Paul Mott is at DH than he did anywhere else. He's in the Hall of Fame. Frank Thomas, same thing. It's a silly argument for me.
Right.
That's fun though. Good.
Yeah.
Got that out of my system.
Yes.
You got anything you want to say? Since we're this, like venting stage, or just get things out of our system? Maybe you should say something.
I got nothing to vent on. I don't know what
you got. Nothing
what's going on your end.
You got to be able to have something. Like, see now this becomes awkward. You just let me act like a total lunatic, and I went a total psychopath with everybody, and now you just say, "I don't know anything about those situations." Fuck you. Like, you got to at least help me, like, not, like,
the whole time.
You can't. You got to at least, like, help me not crash and burn. And if we're gonna crash and burn, it's gonna be together. You can't just let me crash and burn on my own. When did I do a show on the couch with my bare feet in your face? I don't remember having my bare feet in your face. I remember you taking your shirt off. I remember us like fake making out one time, like the scene from Tommy Boy. I remember a lot of like weird shit. I remember my feet
I
being
do
in
not
your face.
recall any of that.
I definitely don't recall the feet.
Yeah.
Brickman, see, like I've known since like 15. And like his mom and dad are an extension of my parents, and I'm like an extension of their kids. We can plot things that you probably don't know about because you would never have a friendship like this, but it is what it is. No, I don't want a haircut. What are you talking about? See, this is why he's so stupid. If we could do this, Rob, you just sound dumb. Spend for the $30 and get a haircut. Yeah, that's why I've got long hair, because I don't have the money to cut it. That's why. Not because I like long hair or nothing, but because I don't have the $30 to cut my hair. Like, is this guy for?
I guess. I
don't know. Hey, Frank, you can comment. Remember when I used to be at Doan and I used to get yelled at Doan because I had really long hair and they didn't like how long my hair was there? Remember that? So, yeah, like it has nothing to do with me not being able to afford the haircut, Rob. You're just a dipshit. Anyway, Rob's somebody that thinks that, that Juan Soto will get traded. He thinks Juan Soto will get traded to the Yankees just because it's the Yankees and the Yankees make things like this happen. Who have a lazy take like that? Well, it's the Yankees. That's why.
He'll Venmo you for the haircut.
What do you think is going to happen with Juan Soto? Where do you think he goes? You said he won't get signed. He won't get traded at the deadline. What do you think happens in the offseason? Who ends up in the Juan Soto sweepstakes?
Man, that's a tough one. I'm just trying to think of all the realistic options. I mean, I don't see Soto going into the division. And Soto,
I'd say the Dodgers I'd start with because the Dodgers seem to be in on everybody.
Right. It's either going to be like these big market teams like the Dodgers or the Yankees. That's going to be a nightmare. It's going to be a nightmare come true if he ends up.
I would think the Dodgers and the Yankees definitely.
Yeah. But I don't see it happening.
Boston,
no. I'm trying to think of like teams like Baltimore, no. Toronto, no.
I could actually see Toronto.
Could you though?
Toronto is one of the teams I said I could see happening, and I said it last week. Because if you look at Toronto with all the young talent they already have at the big league roster, like if you traded Kevin Biggio and, you could come up with it. Like obviously Vlad Jr. wouldn't be in the deal, but you've got enough there with Kevin Biggio. If you went Kevin Biggio and Bo Bichette, and they were the two main parts of your package to go get Juan Soto, I still think you're in a good position getting Soto as opposed to keeping Biggio or Bichette. I think
you could trade.
I think they could be solid players, but I think we just like them mostly because their dads were really, really good players, and one of them's a Hall of Famer. Like you like Kevin Biggio because his dad was Craig Biggio, and you like Bo Bichette because Dante was a good player. But outside of that, neither one of them is probably ever going to be as good of a player as their dad was. Right. We know Kevin's never going to be as good as Craig Biggio was, and it's likely that Bo will never be anything close to what Dante was. So at this point, they're good players, but you probably are better off trading them for Soto.
I mean, with Toronto, I'm looking at their farm system right now. They have two of the top 50 in prospects in Gabriel Moreno.
So you could realistically go those two guys plus like a Kevin Biggio, right? Like you could go young guys at the big league level.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so there's enough there for Toronto to make that happen.
Right.
I look at it like that. Like, could Toronto, I need to see two things. Could this team realistically make it happen with the resources that they have as far as trading for the guy? And then on top of that, could they realistically sign the guy to a long-term deal? And Toronto, I mean, I guess if you wanted to, it's Toronto, right? You're like New York City. You're the biggest city in Canada. You've got all the money. Toronto is, you know as well as I do, Toronto is a popping city when it comes to all that. They would have to commit to the idea of spending all that money. But they're probably not going to let Vlad Jr. go anywhere, right?
Yeah, they're not going to. Yeah, I don't see them
get signed long term.
I don't see them. Yeah, Teoscar Hernandez. I don't see them letting go.
Could you? I mean, imagine if they had Vlad Jr. and Juan Soto as the face of that franchise for the next decade.
Right.
I mean, holy shit! Both of those guys are under 25.
Mm-hmm.
See, see the lazy take. Oh, between the Mets and the Yanks, one will get Judge. Well, Judge isn't going anywhere. He's going to be the MVP of the American League, and the Yanks will sign him to a historical contract. And see the lazy take. Oh, the Mets will get. Okay, great. What do the Mets have? I don't understand that. What are the Mets giving up for? I want to hear this. It just makes zero sense to me. The Mets are going to trade. Why? Why? Because the Mets have the billionaire owner? Yeah, we all know Cohen will pay him $400 million.
Right. And we'll know the Mets will do anything to get.
I could see that. If they could make the trade happen, they'd sign him long term. Right. I could see that. But the Mets also, the Mets kind of strike me right now as a team that it's like the Francisco Lindor trade or the Francisco Lindor signing. Like, it's more about the sexiness, the sex appeal of the move than it really is about like the success on the field of it. Sign Lindor to this huge contract. Now the dude's hitting like 260. It's not that he's not a good player, but it's like they knew that signing Lindor to this big contract was going to put asses in the seats. That's what makes it a great deal, which in New York is really important. But I don't know. I mean, you realistically could see what Brinkman was talking about, where like if like a team that's like a sleeper wants to trade for him at the deadline, they could do that, and then he could still possibly get traded again. The Braves did that, where they traded for Mark Teixeira, and then I believe they also then traded Mark Teixeira like a year and a half later. In the process, when they traded for Teixeira, they gave up Elvis Andrus and what was it, Matthew Feliz and a couple, they ended up trading like 4 of the 5 guys that ended up being really good players for the Rangers as they went to their World Series run in 2010, 2011. Like 3 or 4 of those guys came from the Braves in the Braves trade when they traded for Teixeira. And then like a year and a half later, they traded Teixeira to, I guess, the Yankees or whatever it was and got, or maybe he left in free agency or something, but whatever it was, like, we've seen that happen before where you trade for a guy. Phillies did that with Hunter Pence, right? Traded for Pence, and then a year and a half later gave him up and traded him because we realized it wasn't going in the direction we wanted. had to get some prospects back in return. So that's definitely happened. But this Soto thing for me, I just think it's unlike any deal like we're ever going to see, because rarely ever this would be like Ken Griffey Jr. getting traded in 1994. You know what I'm saying? Like it's Griffey got traded in 2000 when he was already like 29, 30, right? Like if you go back another 5 years when Griffey's the best player in baseball, this is kind of like it would be like that. Like it really would be. It'd be like if the Pirates were trying to trade Barry Bonds in 1992 as opposed to him getting becoming a free agent. Like it's just the type of the type of situation we're talking about here. The only thing I think that is close is the Giancarlo Stanton thing, except his deal, remember his contract was already signed and in place when they traded him. But still, you're talking about that level of talent, a 25, 26-year-old player with that level of talent. Yeah, I'm with you. Uncle Steve does have the money. So how are they trading for him? As Frank said, it's not like he's a free agent at the end of the year. You got 2 more years of team control. So maybe he becomes a Met in 2 years after his contract's up and he becomes a free agent. But what are the Mets trading for him? I mean, like what seriously? The Mets are built to win now. The Mets have done everything they can to win now. Like if you're the Mets, what are you giving up to go get Soto too? Could you see a team like the Diamondbacks or something trying to trade like Drew Jones or something for him?
I don't know, to be honest. I mean, it's really
I can't believe
tough
the Orioles. I can't believe the Orioles didn't take Jones. They took Jackson Holiday, but I mean, you don't want to question anything the Orioles are doing right now, farm system wise, because they're just so good. But man, I mean, if you just watch Drew Jones as a prospect, man, he is just really impressive. The guy I'm disappointed. I can't believe that. I can, but I can't. But Kumar Rocker going 3rd overall to the Rangers.
That surprised me. That
big time stuff.
Surprised me.
I'm never a fan of these physicals where they're like, the physical told us that he's going to have future elbow issues. Well, all pitchers have future elbow issues. Yeah. Justin Verlander just went and got Tommy John surgery, and all of a sudden he looks like he's 25 again. Right. I'm not worried about Tommy John surgery with pitchers. I'm really not. Like if that's what his physical said, and that decided, that made you decide not to sign the dude, I think you're stupid. I don't sign the dude, have him get Tommy John right away, and I'll see you in 2 years when you're electric as hell again with a brand new arm. Like I thought it was silly. I was glad the Mets didn't sign him because fuck you. You just wasted a top 10 pick on a guy you didn't sign. But I think the Rangers are they realize that they're kind of building a little something right now. The Rangers are a sneaky, solid team. Like they're not a playoff team, but they're right around 500. And I think they realize they're only a few good young players away from maybe being able to be sneaky competitive in a division that the Angels are bad. They're a mess. The A's are a mess. So you've got the Astros, the Mariners, could be a playoff team this year, but are the Mariners going to build anything long-term stable, where they're like 3, 4, 5 years down the road, they're that good? You probably wouldn't count on it. So if you're the Rangers, that's what you're shooting for, is to be the second best team in the division. But yeah, I mean, you think they go and draft Kumar Rocker with the 3rd pick, they're probably thinking Rocker could be at the big league level by next year, right? Mm-hmm. Like you're probably thinking that's what they're thinking. This is a guy that can come contribute in our rotation pretty damn quick.
I mean, you've already got
with his type of stuff. I think it's a good pick with his type of stuff. Yeah, I'll take my chances on taking a guy like that at 3rd overall because I know, he's gonna move through your system really quickly, and the stuff is there. It's not about whether or not he has the stuff to pitch at the big league level. It's about just about other things working themselves out. But I mean, Jackson Holiday and Drew Jones are gone. What are you going to do if you're Texas? Why not go with the guy that's the most advanced arm in the draft that's probably going to get to your big league system?
What really surprised me was, a lot of the mock drafts had Kumar sliding down to us. And I
actually, dude, I'm with you. I was all over that. I was like, dude, if he's there when the Phillies have their 1st round pick, I want the Phillies to snag him for the reasons I just talked about. I want a guy that can come through my system quickly. If he can be in my big league rotation by the middle of next year, great pick. And that's probably what he's going to be.
Right. And, I'm glad with the pick. I think, he's got the pedigree like his dad, Carl. I'm really excited to see where this kid's going to be going. Crawford.
That's a good point by Willie. I forgot they took Leiter as well last year.
They did,
and like Leiter obviously pitched at Vanderbilt as well.
Teammates.
And you've got two dudes that, with guys that, their dads were big leaguers, and you understand, they know they were groomed for this, understand what it takes to have to prepare yourself to be good at the big league level. And the stuff is there. And I'm with Willie there for Texas. That could be sexy for them in a few years.
All right, so I just turned the Phillies game on. We got people wanting to figure out the current results right now with the game so far. Right now, it's top of the 10, no outs. Didi was on second, and it was an overthrown. And Didi is going to make his way home off of a Pirates error.
There we go.
2-1 Phils.
See, this is the sign of a team when you talk about, are you a playoff team? This is the type of stuff that builds character. You got to find ways to win these games when you're in these positions. Games like last night where Reese hits the big home run in the 10th inning. You got to find ways to win those games, and we're doing that right now.
Yeah. All right. So Phil's up 2-1, top of the 10, no outs. Veerling on second. Didi just scored home from being the zombie runner.
You want to talk about the Kyler Murray contract?
Yeah, well, let's touch on it real quick because I got to be up at 4 a.m. tomorrow to go to work.
Yeah, is Daniel coming in? Like, has Daniel told you he's coming in it or not?
Daniel has not told me anything. Everything I've been knowing about today has been going through our other producer, Ralph. So
let me see where Daniel's at before you jump off. But
right, by the time I have to jump in, it's like going to be 10 o'clock. There's a reaction show you can also check out. Andy and Butters over on it in this very ring. They're live reacting to SummerSlam. They're live reacting to all the big moments right now. So definitely check them out when we are wrapping up. So let's talk about the Kyler Murray contract.
Yeah, obviously Murray's upset because he thinks that it's disrespectful for people to have an issue with the fact that there's this clause in the contract about him having to study a certain amount of hours of film per week.
Right. It's a weird clause to put in to begin with. Like that I find bizarre.
Give him this money without them putting some sort of protection in there for themselves. He can think whatever he wants. He's always come across to me as somebody who's a little cocky and arrogant and thinks way too much of himself when he's really not quite as good as he thinks he is. He's a great player that has
Well, hi there. It's me again. What you just witnessed was that Zach was talking about the Kyler Murray contract and that there was the typical homework clause in there. So it's a weird thing to put in that contract for me. In my opinion, it was a weird thing to put in there because I don't know why it was there to begin with. I got some very weird Jamarcus Russell vibes to it, but I'm kind of glad they got rid of that clause in the contract. I mean, there's no problem with learning the game film and all that, but just putting that in there saying, hey, you got to study this much film. Like let him do it on his own time. We know what Kyler Murray can do under the Kingsbury system. He's a successful air raid quarterback, and and the Cardinals are on an upswing. So I don't see the purpose of adding that clause in there, to be honest with you.
Well, I would think that they're clearly like I think that's what I'm saying is it tells me that Michael Vick thing. Michael Vick told the stories about him having DVDs from coaches early in his career where they were telling him, hey, go home and study these. And he just, they literally build up in his trunk, and they would just be cases full of DVDs and unwatched game film in the trunk of his car that he never bothered to watch.
Or it could be the Jamarcus Russell situation where it's blank tapes and Jamarcus Russell.
Blank tapes and what did you study last night? Oh, I studied blitz packages. Oh, really? Because there was nothing on those tapes, you dumb motherfucker. Yeah. Like, why are you over here trying to lie about it?
Yeah.
How childish.
Exactly.
But yeah, like it's got, for me, it tells me that there's something there. Like you don't just, if he was plenty committed to the film room where, you were like, man, this kid, he's a junkie. He loves being in the film room trying to find ways to get better. You would never even think about putting this clause in his contract. So because this clause is there and it's in the contract, something must have happened and something must go on in that building that makes them at least a little bit concerned that he spends way too much time doing this and not enough time watching film or whatever. That's what it would tell me. I would think it's a bit of a red flag for me personally. Now, is it unfair? Maybe it's unfair, whatever. But for him to come out and act all offended is a really just entitled way for somebody like him to act.
Right.
You have like no right, no business in any, like you have not done shit in this league for you to sit here and act entitled in a way for you to be offended that like people like, oh, well, like, what does this mean? He doesn't study enough film? No, that's disrespectful. Is it? Really? Because like, I mean, you've got a loaded ass roster and y'all like struggled to win 10 games last year. And Cliff Kingsbury, in his career as a head coach going all the way back to college, is like 41-20 in the first 8 weeks of a season. And he's like 17-41 in the final 8 weeks of a season. And, that continued to be the trend the past 2 years. He had back-to-back second half collapses 2 years ago and then last year. And, whether, I think it's a combination of both of them, but it's not like Murray has lit it up enough and went, it's not like he's done enough for you to go, wow, what a stud this kid is. Like, I see the upside. I see the electric. He's exciting to watch, all those things. But it's, it's a lesser Lamar Jackson situation. Lamar Jackson's done more winning, but you still look at Lamar and you go, can he ever really can he play enough as a conventional quarterback? Can he do enough of the things that a conventional quarterback can do to win you the big games in the playoff, situations, where it's like, okay, I know we can go win a Super Bowl with this guy. Or is he just a guy that's going to be really, really fun to watch? He's super electric. He gives you a boner when you watch him play the cornerback position because it's just that exciting with all the different things he does. But at the end of the day, it's more that than it really is, his ability to go like put all that together while also winning you football games. It's a balance that you've got to be able to find because, Michael Vick was the most explosive thing we'd ever seen at the quarterback position, for his entire Falcons career. But they, had like 1 year where they won more than 10 games or something, it's just something that you look at and you go, Kyler Murray playing the game in the way that Kyler Murray does only takes you so far. I thought Daniel had made a good point when me and him talked about this, where Colt McCoy went 3-1 as their starting quarterback this year. Colt McCoy.
I forgot he was still in the league. My God.
You're like, Colt McCoy. So if he's going 3-1, that means, and what does Colt McCoy do best? He's going to play within a system and execute your little West Coast system in the best way that he possibly can, because that's what he does. He's not going to throw the ball 15 or 20 yards down the field and beat you with anything explosive, but he can execute your system very, very well because that's him. He's the guy that's in the film room dedicating himself in the way that, I guess you would want your franchise quarterback to be, except he just doesn't have franchise quarterback ability. Right. So there's your balance. They wish Kyler Murray would commit himself to like the game film study type of shit the way that Colt McCoy does, and they feel like they'd have, an untouchable player. But unfortunately, like if you go back and watch like Kyler Murray, go back and watch his highlight film from this past year. There's the one play where he scrambles to the right breaks a tackle, scrambles back to the left, and then like cuts back and then scrambles back to the middle of the field, and then finally throws the ball down the field where it's caught for like a 25-yard completion. But you're like, yeah, that all happened because you're an elite athlete. But this is also what the team's probably talking about when they're saying, you know, hey, we prefer if you would study game film and not understand, you know, like what the defense is showing you. That way, when it comes into that situation, you could just get the ball out and deliver it to the guy that needs, you know, that's open early on in the route and early on in the play, as opposed to scrambling around, you know, for 10 seconds to find somebody open. Oh, awesome that you have the athleticism to do that, but that's not really what we want this system to be, is you just playing schoolyard football, you know, or sandlot football as we're drawing plays up in the dirt sort of thing, which I feel like is probably where, when you watch Kyler Murray, he's really good in those situations because he was the kid in the schoolyard that never ever got caught, right? Like it's, he's the kid that when he was playing quarterback and it was two-hand touch, you never touched him. Like it just it didn't happen. So yeah, I mean, like he's probably comfortable in those situations, but that you don't want to put an entire system around that. And it, you know, that seems to be what a lot of Kyler Murray at the quarterback position is right now. And you know, I don't know. I'm not somebody that's high on Cliff Kingsbury either. I think Kingsbury.
I'm not high really on Cliff either. You know, I think, you know, he's taking, you know, he's in that league where the era is now shifting to air raid offenses. You know, of course, we were in the era of the spread offense. Now we're transitioning, you know, with the likes of, you know, Sean McVay, you know, using air raid system and using air raid quarterbacks as the new norm. So having a guy like Kingsbury in there, you know, it makes sense for the era. We'll see how it pays off down the line when Kyler's under center.
When Daniel gave me, I said update, and it says still nothing. They said it would be okay, but it's not allowing me to connect.
Oh.
So,
well,
I don't know.
I mean,
we might call the night relatively short and just say fuck it and
because
you know,
I got to be up. I got to be up at 4 a.m. And you know, with me, I need my sleep, and I got a long drive.
If we go to 10:15 here, we can probably just cut it and wrap it up and end it like we normally would.
Well, right now there's one out left in the game, so once
there we go.
Out,
so
you can start wrapping it up.
Yeah, that would be perfect. Exactly. And then
was it O'Neal Cruz or was it? All right, Cruz got called out, got picked off, so we already got one out. 2-1,
and we
top
can,
of the 10 Phillies.
We can talk about Eagles camp a little bit. What's funny is how the reports came out today that Jalen had an awful day, threw a really bad pick, things like that.
Training camp.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Get it? You want to monitor?
I don't look into these performances either. But you also know me. I'm one of these people that like, and you know, we all know how I feel about Jalen. It's not necessarily that, but it's like all these people that like, you know, when his first few days of camp, oh look how good Jalen looks, and then today he looks really bad and has a really bad day, and it's like those same people want to be like, oh well, you know, it's only one bad day. No, you can't have your cake and eat it too. You can't sit here and try to play this game when he apparently has a good day in camp, and then try to play it off when he has a bad day and make it seem like it doesn't matter. None of it matters because you're not doing any of this really in a game situation with, you know, an actual defense rushing at you and actual defensive looks of any kind, you know, and things like that. I read the report about him making some back shoulder throw to Quez Watkins that was really, really impressive in the end zone. And somebody said, oh, it looked Aaron Rodgers-esque. And you're like, okay. And then I went and looked at the video and you're like, they're not even like playing a legit defense here. Like, great, that's a pretty throw, but like there's like we're not even playing an actual defense that has any type of coverage involved with it.
Actual football game.
Yeah, like it's not making him go through any type of process in his head. It's easy to make that throw when there's no defense, but when you've got to process things because there's a defensive look coming at you, that throw's a lot harder to make. Like it's just like some of these reports are silly. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
And like keeping track of stats and touchdowns and interceptions. Just enjoy.
Yeah, well, that's Elliott
enjoy
Shore
the
Park
development of
stuff. I mean,
players.
you remember a few years back when he was trying to make Alshon Jeffrey, or when he was trying to make it seem like Jordan Matthews was better than Alshon Jeffrey,
Right.
and I kept attacking him with the A2D Twitter page, and I kept calling him out for it, and he finally responded to our A2D Twitter page and said, "Appreciate your guy," or "I respect your guys' hustle. Keep up the good work," or something like that. Like a total, like one of those like backhanded compliments sort of things. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Oh, I respect your guys' hustle. What fucking hell? Like we actually got talent over here, Elliot. Like what are you talking about? You're a clickbait, like headline writer for like NJ.com. Like you're not even like a legit Eagles beat reporter. Like somebody like Elliott Shore Parks is a total fucking fraud. He wouldn't know how to like watch a football game and actually break down what's happening if like his life depended on it. You put a gun to his head and make him do it, he wouldn't be here no more. He'd get his head blown off. Like he's that bad. Right? So
yeah,
people like that in this city that are in this fucking media that try to sit here and keep track. The most important stat was he was 4-0 in like these scrimmages or whatever, where we like scrimmage against other teams or whatever. We have those dual camp practices things. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, this is absolutely ridiculous that we're over here reporting things like this.
all right. Right now it is 2-2.
I need the Dodgers to win,
2-2.
by the way. And if the Dodgers win, what happened?
Nothing. It's the Phillies game. Knievel's got 2-2. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs. 2-1 Phils.
Weeble Knievel's in the game.
And here's the windup. And foul.
Weeble Knievel. Evil Knievel's like less talented baseball cousin. Yeah.
All right. Cal Mitchell is at the plate for the Pirates. He's already taken 7 pitches at bat, trying to keep the Pirates in this game. Can Knievel get it done? And another foul tip. That is now 8 pitches at bat for Cal Mitchell, excuse me. Let's see. Can the Phillies go up 3-0 in the series against the Bucks right before the trade deadline? There's the pitch. Grounded to Reese. Toss it to Knievel. Game's over. Phillies win. Phillies win in extras for the second straight night. Knievel gets the save.
There we go.
And there we go.
So how mad will Eagles Nation be when Washington wins the division this year?
That ain't going to happen. I will say that. I'm not buying into the Commanders winning the East. Yeah, I know Chase Young will be back at some point.
I don't buy Dallas winning it. I think it's the Carson Wentz comeback tour.
I think it's still a 2-team race. I think still 2-team race between the Cowboys and us. I think it's just going to be down to the last couple games of the season. I really like what the Eagles did this offseason. Every single move I was very happy with. I think it's right now it's down to the Eagles and Cowboys for the division.
Carson Wentz comeback tour.
We'll see. I think the return game in Philly. I'm very curious on how that's going to pan out. I'm very curious. I know it's way down the line, but I'm very curious how the home crowd's going to react to it. I'm very curious if they are.
The shit out of him.
I think they're going to boo him.
Oh, hell yeah! They're going to light him up.
Yeah. But I feel like there's going to be a sizable portion. I think they're going to do like a video package for him. Thank you. Especially what he did leading up to that ACL injury in 2017. Carson set that way for that run in the Super Bowl. We know what Foles did in the playoffs.
Of course he did,
but
of course he
can't
did.
forget, the quarterback who led you in that spot to begin. And I don't want to rehash.
Part of the reason why so many of these people want the Jalen Hurts thing to work itself out is because these people that all gave up on Carson are the same people that now need this Jalen Hurts situation out, or else they look really dumb.
Right. I mean, we'll see how it goes. All right, so I think that's it for the night.
Pretty much.
Yes. So that concludes, I guess, tonight's show. It's a short show. And we hope that Daniel will be back next week, especially with me filling in last moment. But anyways, this show is brought to you by our friend, the new athletic director at the Cross Christian Academy in Delaware, Alan Foy of eXp Realty. If you're looking to buy or sell a home, looking to change in career or brokerage, contact him at eXp Realty LLC at 302-682-8820 or visit him at alan.foy@exprealty.com. I'm not Daniel, but I'm Frank. And Zach, whatever he's doing, he's finagling with something. I hope that's a finger.
My hair got tangled.
Oh, and Zach's detangling. And maybe he could take up on Brinkman's offer for a haircut. So for Daniel and Zach.
Yeah, Brinkman said he'll Venmo me. How about you Venmo me $30 to kiss my ass, Rob? How about that?
All right. So on that note, we'll see you next week.